What is the crack, guys? So welcome to the Antisocial Walking Club podcast series that I'm going to be doing every single week with a fellow guest called Sarah Wiseman, who's an absolute legend. She is currently on a journey to walk over 100 kilometers. She's walking from London to Brighton, coming towards the end of May here. Sarah, who, bearing in mind, started walking only last year, could barely walk to the shop, got in just about 1,000 steps, having to stop multiple times. And throughout that period of time, is now going to have to walk over 150,000 steps in a period of a day or just over a day. So, Sarah, how has training been going the last week? How have things been going since I last chatted to you? We're a little bit late with this podcast because of me, as per usual. This should have been done beforehand, so we almost missed an episode because of myself. But how have things been going over the last little while with regards to your training? And for anybody that listening here, first of all, that maybe hasn't heard yet, you're obviously walking the 100-kilometer route from Brighton or from London to Brighton, and not backwards. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, not backwards.
Yeah, if I keep saying it that way, I will. But how has things been going with your training over the last week or so?
Getting there. It is quite tough because, life doesn't stop, unfortunately. So there's lots of other things going on in the world that still have to happen. However, basically, what I'm trying to do is just fit in little bits of getting out and getting some more steps, getting out and getting some more steps in between everything that I'm doing. So the amount of walking that I'm doing in a day is a lot more than it has been.
Yeah.
It's just difficult at the minute to try and find time to get the longer distances in, just because life is always busy. But no, it's getting there. It's good. It's good. I am finding that every time I'm out, I get quicker at what I'm doing. I find it easier. It's less breathtaking than the time before. Apart from when I went out today, but that's because it's blisteringly hot. If someone could turn the sun down, that'd be fantastic. Thank you very much.
Both of us praying here that slows down a little bit. Good to hear that we're doing something. So I suppose this is kind of maybe something to touch into as well for people listening here. Sometimes people can kind of have a challenge like this in front of them, whether it be weight loss, whether it be, again, even the monumental challenge of walking from London to Brighton, and think, oh, if I can't get out and do 5K, there's no point. Or if I can't get out for 20 minutes, there's no point. If I can't get out for 10 minutes, there's no point. But what you're doing here is perfect. It's like, well, life is getting in the way. We can't put a pause on things that are keeping us alive, and the cooking, the washing, the fecking, looking after a job and stuff like that. And sometimes that does get in the way of our health and fitness. But the goal is always to do something for it or to do something towards a challenge. You at the start line are going to be so grateful that you got out on that 2-kilometer walk or that 1-kilometer walk or half a kilometer walk, regardless of what it was, because even the tiniest little bit of benefit is going to go your way. And I think with regards to the mindset you're approaching it with is like Oisin, mental busy, things are crazy, but I'm just trying to fit it all in. I suppose everybody else listening as well here, Sarah, if you don't mind sharing, like how much on average would you work a week?
Pretty much, I work 7 days a week. I run a pub. It's not really a job. It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that I enjoy. Don't get me wrong. It's really good. I get to spend a lot of time with a lot of people. However, I live where I work. And pretty much when we're open, somebody will have a question for me about something. Every hour of the day. So therefore it is tough. Over a weekend especially, pretty much I work 19-hour days. So trying to fit in 2 or 3 hours to get some distance walked is not good on these days. So I try and do it on my quieter days. It's just finding a way to work around things.
Yeah, and I think like even energy wise, like how you have the energy to get out and even do a kilometer walk or 2-kilometer walk. Like you've advice for people here listening as well that are looking at you going walking from London to Brighton and being like, I could never like do that, or I'm not able, I just don't have the time or whatever. Like how do you create the time with working so much and having so much stress? Because it's not only the work. I get that part of like when you're finished work, you're living in where you're working. So it's like it never switches off. Somebody always has a question for you or needs you. And so it's very, very hard to get that time for yourself. How do you prioritize yourself, or how do you get the time?
To be honest, I find that I just have to say, do you know what, you can call me if you really, really need me, but I am going out. I'm going to do this. It's the quietest hour of the day, whatever. It's the bit where we've only just opened and nothing's really happening. So I'm going to go now, or I'm going to get up early in the morning so that I can get it done before anybody else is around that needs me. Sometimes me and the guys who work here, we go down to the gym at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night when we finish working. Go get a workout in before we go to bed. not always the easiest thing to do, but sometimes it's the thing that needs doing.
Yeah,
So
because
I
that
know
thing,
that when I can do the things, I feel better for doing them. So it's just
I think the thing that gets in the way a lot of people is that thing of like, if you like, a lot of people would say to people like that, oh, if you wanted enough, you'll get up and go out on a walk, or if you wanted enough, you'll go out and get and find time or whatever it might be. But I don't think it's actually that I wanted enough part. I think everybody wants to feel a little bit healthier, or feel a little, but it's highlighting the importance of that to yourself, because sometimes we can want something but we don't realize how important it is and how much not feeling good can take away from our life. So like, even there, if you're working all of the time, yeah, you might be in work for 19 hours, but if you're 19 hours and you get no time to yourself, you're not going to be the same as Sarah that shows up for 6 hours but has really high energy and feels quite good in yourself. You're going to get probably more done. So by taking more time away, yeah, you might not be able to work just 6 hours. You still might have to work the 18 and take 1 hour off for yourself. But you're going to show up for that time a lot better. And it's the same, like I would hear this a lot of the time from parents or families and stuff like that, being like, oh, Shane, I have so much going on, I can't prioritize myself. If you don't prioritize you and the things that you want in life, you're going to start giving away to everybody else, and then eventually you won't be able to give anymore. And I think that's the biggest part. And seeing your journey, to be honest, inspires me as well, because I know how much you work. Like, we often go back and forth and check-ins about that. I'd be wrecking your head about it, I'd say, half the time, annoying the shit out of you. But you inspire me to prioritize myself more as well. And hopefully that goes for everybody here. And it's not even just about the exercise side of things. It's about, even now, sitting outside for a half an hour, having a chat with somebody, maybe, and taking a little bit of time to yourself, ringing somebody on the phone, whatever it might be, is getting that time is so, so important. Because I know you do, but it's not just walking that you do as well. Are you still doing the dance classes and stuff?
yes, yes. I go to dance class every week, and once a month, I've actually my dance tutor comes and does a class at the pub so that I can actually do dance here without having to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Really enjoy that,
Do you want to
and I get out
give
to
a
the
shout
gym.
out to the dance instructor just on the podcast here, in case there is anybody that's maybe near you, that might want to find a new sport or find something new.
Absolutely. I mean, it is the most fun thing in the world. Dance yourself free. Fran Dearlove, absolutely amazing lady. She does all kinds of different dance with us. We were salsa in last week. Yeah, it's just great fun, and I've met so many wonderful people who just want an hour to themselves to enjoy themselves and just express themselves however they want to. And so that's what we do. And by the end of it, you've moved, you feel better, and it's just the best way to kick off a week, to be honest.
Yeah. And I think it's that community aspect as well, of like, you're going there with people who are really enjoying themselves, getting to chat to people outside of work. Because I know, like, you might chat to people in work, and it's the same as me. I like to chat to all of you guys all the time. But it's different being outside of that and maybe being in an environment where people support each other, and someone maybe gets a certain dance move and you're like, oh, how did you do that? How do I do this part? And having a laugh and a joke, that makes it really enjoyable. It's actually similar, I imagine, to jiu-jitsu, is almost like a little bit of a
Yeah.
dance, but floor, you're just trying to get your hands in the right position and your legs and moving and stuff like that. I think that's amazing. And actually, it's one thing that I'm really looking forward to with this walk as well, is community. I think it's huge. And so the fact that I'm going to be out there with you, we're going to be both going through hard things. Adam is joining us along as well, going to
Yeah.
join in. What you guys who listen to the podcast are probably going to come along, and it's going to build that community of, we're going through some hard shit together, which is super important, and it'll give you that support in and being able to finish, but also in life when things are getting tough, of seeking support as well.
Yes, definitely. I mean, to be honest, community and having good people around you is always, always one of the best things that you can have. Even being able to chat to people in an online group, an online situation, whatever, just having people who can show some interest and actually care about the things you've got to say is absolutely amazing. So, yeah.
So a big question for you here, right? It was one that I thought of, and I'm kind of interested to know your answer to it as well.
hmm
So, is the challenge getting harder now that it's getting closer, or is it getting easier?
I don't think it's getting harder. It's probably getting scarier. I'm terrified just because I haven't done it. So therefore, it's always scary doing anything that you've never done before because you just don't know. I just don't know. But no, I wouldn't say that it's getting harder. I think I feel like moving is getting easier, which is good. That makes me feel more confident about it.
Yeah,
I feel like I can at least do a good chunk of it before I start to feel atrocious. But
yeah,
yeah, it's a hard thing that we're aiming at doing. So it is still definitely a big thing that's looming. No, to be honest, I am looking forward to it more the closer it gets. Just like I say, if we could get a bit of shade on the sun, that'd be cool.
Wait, so there, I suppose that's an interesting question because I always say the same to myself. With jujitsu, right? And I know I always talk in that, but it's just something that's fresh in my mind. People are always like, "Oh, what's the hardest belt to get, or when is it most difficult?" And people are like, "Well, the top belt would be your black belt, where people get awarded it after 10 years or sometimes 15 years, and people work a long time to get it." But actually, the hardest belt to get is the white belt. To be able to go in somewhere and not feel good, and not because you're getting started at it, and that's the most
Yeah,
difficult to keep. And it's the same with regards to the walking. The most difficult step that you took was actually putting your name down on a piece of paper. I'm going to do that. Or the first walk that you got out of your house and you stopped a few times, and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone to even join the Mulligan's method or sign up to the Ultra Challenge. Not only that, you've signed up to more now as well. You've more on the horizon, which is sick. It don't none of this, the destination doesn't matter. And I think most everybody listening to this needs to hear it as well. The destination means fuck all. Brighton means fuck all. London means fuck all. What actually matters is you pushing yourself out of your comfort zone consistently. And that can be as simple as signing a piece of paper to be like, I'm going to go and try this thing. And even if you don't show up to it or you do show up to whatever it might be, it doesn't matter. It's a small win. And then we build those wins over time. And I think that that's amazing to share, being like, look, Oisin, actually, the closer I get to this thing, yeah, I'm a little bit more anxious and you can be a little bit more excited as well and all these things together. But the hardest part was the first step, the first putting on the runners, the first getting outside, the first getting the movement in. Yeah, it's hard to show up for yourself every single week, but it never gets harder than that. And you have to kind of almost be okay with it being hard. And this leads into the walk that we're going to do as well. Me and you both know there's going to be a point where you're going to want to give up. There's going to be a point where you feel like shit. There's going to be a point where you feel really tired. Your legs are sore. I'm going to be the same. Don't think for 1 second that I'm underestimating this second thing. I have not used. I have a walking pad. I can't even bring it down. I have a walking pad under me here. I've been using it all week whenever I've been doing things on the computer like that, just to try to get my steps up to match it as well, because I'm going to face the exact same thing as you. And I'm excited for that because one, that shows you who you really are. So it allows you to overcome an obstacle that's difficult. If this was easy, there'd be no point in doing it. You wouldn't have anything to prove or you wouldn't have anything to come back better than, because to get back or to come back better, we have to step over something or go to a higher level than where we were before. And in that kind of, great, you're showing yourself that, do you know what, when things get hard and things get tough, I can still and I can keep on going. But we know that going into it, and knowing that going into it, you know when we're sore, like the only thing I have to do is put one foot in front. I know when I don't want to go anymore, I don't want to get out and I don't want to get movement in, or after the second day when we have to get up and get moving again. It's gonna be hard. We understand that. But in that, that's where the challenge is. That's what we want. And if that wasn't there as much as we hated, there'd be no point in doing this in the first place.
no, definitely. This is all about being able to push yourself to a place that you don't really know how you're going to get there. I know it is going to be really tough. So I also know it'll be enjoyable. It's going to be a really big learning thing. How I
Yeah.
get through it, what I have to do to be able to get through it, um, and seeing how I am at the end of it. Yeah,
I think one amazing part of health, fitness, improving yourself, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, and not a lot of people talk about it. And it's a good motivating factor for like parents or that. Is the lessons that you learn, right, by going through this shit or going through the hard things, are things that you're going to be able to help other people out with, or help out your sons, daughters, or people that you meet, your friends, when they face a tough situation because you've been through it, right? People might be like, sure, when is my friend ever going to walk 100 kilometers from London to Brighton? It might not necessarily be that, but you know how to get through hard things now, because hard
yeah,
things are all similar. We perceive them all the same exact fucking way. So we know how to do that. Well, I can support people that are going through a hard time. Or Sarah, if anyone ever approached you that was struggling with the weight, I'm sure you would have unbelievable advice to share. It's where I started this whole entire thing from, was literally because I had gained weight before and I had gone through the period of losing it. And I feel like that helped me understand a little bit more. So when things get tough, and a lot of the time things get very hard, and it's very easy to give up on ourselves because a lot of the time maybe we don't believe in ourselves, maybe we have a lack of confidence, maybe we are struggling. One thing that we need to do in a situation like that is use other people to push us on. And how we can do that is being like, well, look, if I'm just going to get through this as much as I can, so that if my daughter ever faces anything that's hard or difficult, I know how to help. Or if my friend comes to me and is struggling with something, or struggling with their weight, or struggling with walking, or struggling with whatever it might be, that I can give them the advice and tips that I have. And I think that that's a huge thing for you as well.
Absolutely. I mean, to be honest, everything I do, I like doing it to be able to help other people in some way, to be able
Yeah.
to have some kind of knowledge that I can share with other people, or just like literally physically help them somehow. So yeah, I think you learn from everything you do. And you just have to get out and do something.
Yeah.
Just otherwise you're stuck doing the same thing and then you're going nowhere, learning nothing and doing nothing. So getting out
Yeah.
and doing something is always the better choice.
Yeah, and I often talk about that, like you were talking about, like getting out and getting moving and doing something. It's something that I've been thinking about even the last little while, and I've said it on a few like check-ins with people and discussions with people. Because actually, don't know if you know this, I've gotten hundreds of messages from people in regards to like the last podcast that we put up, but also the video that was put up. It's about people being like, that's so inspiring. That inspired me to get out and get a bit of movement in and get walking. And that's inspired me to start my journey. And Sarah's making it achievable. So you're already doing it by just pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, having not even done the race. So the knowledge that you're able to provide people after that will be absolutely unbelievable. But I talk about getting stuck because a lot of people are like, I don't know what to do. I can't do anything. I'm anxious, or I'm struggling, or I'm stressed, or I'm really overweight, or whatever it might be. All these things people are approached with these problems, and this is for everybody. You might get approached by these problems. The worst thing that can happen is, right, standing still and doing nothing. And I use the analogy of, imagine being in a dark room with the lights off, right, and then there's a monster in the room, and you have to try get out of the room. The worst thing to do is stand still and do nothing, because you're never getting out. Stay in the exact same position. The best thing you can do is try run to turn on the light and find where the door is, or else run and try and find where the door is. Doesn't matter what way you do it. But what's involved in both of those is putting a foot in front of the other and moving. That's exactly what I want to do. Even if you start the gym and you don't enjoy it, you put your foot forward, you started something, you tried it, go try something else if you don't like that. Try swimming, try dancing. If it's that you try a challenge and we fail this one, you put a foot forward, who cares? Now we on to the next one. What did we learn from the last one? The door's not in that corner, it might be over in this corner. Let's go check. And I think that that brings it so to life for me, and hopefully for other people as well, and for you in these walks where we're like maybe facing something that's hard or difficult, or we're getting these movements in. And it's like, fuck, this training isn't going right for me, or I don't have time for this training. It's like, fuck it. Well, the worst thing I can do is stop, because then I'm standing still and then I'm getting no further. But meanwhile, if I'm just like, right, well, I go out and do 5 minutes, or do you know what? I'm going to take an hour off here at the weekend to go and put a foot forward for myself, you'll end up in a much better position. So I think you're extremely good at doing that. Like I oftentimes you'll kind of touch on where like you've had a rough week and things are hard and things are difficult, but I never ever hear you stop. And how have you learned to overcome obstacles like that? Like how have you developed that thing to stop moving? I know that's a difficult question to answer, but is there anything that you use to propel yourself forward?
It is a hard question. Thanks very much. To be honest, probably accountability is the big thing that I find really helps. For a long, long time, I've tried to lose weight, tried to get fit, tried to do things on my own because I thought that I was the only thing that I needed to do it. And actually, it turns out that I needed somebody around who was actually listening, who was actually going, "Oh, do you know what? Yeah, you said you'd do that. Well done, you did that."
Yeah.
So it helps massively when I check in with you, check in with members of the group who go, yeah, well done. You said you were going to do that, and now we've done it. That's cool. I'm using my partner a lot more at home. He's been really good and really supportive, and so he'll go, right, I'm coming to see you, and we'll go out for a walk because that was what you wanted to do today, wasn't it? So he'll stop rather than whatever we were going to do. He'll take me out. We'll get a walk in.
Yeah.
Because I'm saying it to other people, I then feel like it's got to be done. It's not just an idea that's in my head. I've actually told somebody it's going to happen, and so therefore it's got to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where speaking it before it happens really does help as well. And like saying it to people is a huge accountability, because even for you, I remember when you were going signing up for it, did you sign up for this and then message me, or was it that you messaged me about it and then you signed up for it? I think you might have messaged me about it and then signed up for it.
I was going to say I saw it and I messaged you and said that I was going to sign up for it, and you said if we could check on the dates and things, you would come with me. So then we signed up for it.
Yes.
But it was literally I'd seen it and I was like, oh, that might be a good idea, and now it's here. So
Just so people
technically,
know, I'm not forcing you into these challenges. You challenge yourself with it. It's fucking amazing.
yeah. Well, so as we've kind of touched on before, I am a believer of just do it. If you're going to do it and do it good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this
What's
seemed like a good challenge, and I think it will be.
Yeah. What's been the biggest obstacle so far? I might have asked you this question already, but is there any big obstacles so far that you've kind of faced?
To be honest, it is with me just making myself time, making myself commit to my own time. It gets tough sometimes actually sticking with what you're saying you're going to commit to.
Yeah.
I have quite a short attention span, so therefore sticking to doing the same thing over and over again becomes my hard thing. I have to keep finding myself a new walk to go on and finding myself a new place that I can go look at, because once I've walked around it a few times, then I'm bored of it. So I struggle with the repetitive thing of doing over and over again. But there's always a way to get round whatever hard thing comes up.
Yeah, I think it is difficult the walking around the same route anyways. Like everybody will kind of struggle with that. With marathon, that was one of the things that I hated was that I had nothing to entertain me. All I had to do was keep walking and keep running essentially, and it got really, really boring. And that is actually the biggest mental battle. But oftentimes, right, in stuff like this isn't me telling you what to do or whatever. There's a lesson to be learned. And one of the lessons that I learned from the Dublin Marathon when I did it is that I need to be able to spend more time with myself. Oftentimes when I'm seeing this, because what makes it easier is when we're doing a different route that we've never done before, we have other things to focus on. I can look at the trees, I can look at whatever is around. And in that, once we lose that enjoyability, then we're left with just ourselves. So when we're left with just ourselves, then we're thinking about different things we can get in our own head. Oh, I have to walk this distance. I'm not going to be able to do it. So in things like this where you're struggling, change it up. That first of all is a good idea because then it removes the need for that. But also let's work on that other thing that makes this difficult and hard for us is being like, and this again, this isn't necessarily might be what you've struggled with, but I know I have and maybe other people have as well, is that aspect of, well, when I'm out on a walk, I have to think everything that's going on and it makes me more stressed and maybe I don't feel better after my walk. What I have to start to do is get good at not doing that. So essentially get good at sitting by myself and being bored a little bit. So I remember one week I had to challenge myself and I think I said it in group as well, that one of the challenges was to sit bored for an hour. And I often ask this question, when is the last time you were bored? To a lot of people, when is the last time you were bored and had nothing to do? If you say, well, I haven't had a period like that in the last 6 months or last year, there's something wrong with that. We need to make ourselves bored a little bit. One, that's where creativity is going to thrive. And then, second of all, it's good for our brain to have nothing to think about for a bit of time or a period of time. If we're always looking for something to do, sometimes we can avoid things that need to be thought about. And often during the marathon, that's what was going on for me. I was having to think about everything. And then I was like, fuck, right, well, now I need to start being okay with being bored with myself and not talking myself out of it. And the lack of self belief was creeping in and talking to me, and the lack of confidence. You're not able for this, and being able to talk to those voices sometimes and turn to them. And I use the analogy of turning that person into person on your shoulder. So often thinking of myself as like an evil character. You ever see the TV shows where there's like a devil on it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it's looking at it, like genuinely, this happened multiple times throughout the marathon. I remember one stage my hip was really, really bad. And it was just after I think loads of people have messaged me at the time, which is hilarious because I stopped in the toilet. And I remember I stopped in the toilet, my legs almost stopped working. So I started to fall forward and my head was on like the portaloo after going for a pee and I couldn't get up, I couldn't move. And then when I got outside there, it was so funny. I forgot what I was going to say there. Anyways, with the my train of thought. That I remember that period of time. I remember turning and looking at the so-called devil on my shoulder, as telling me I couldn't be able to do this, and I just turned. I was like, "Fuck off." It's like, "Oisin, fuck off." Literally gave it a name, but was just like, "Just fuck off and leave me alone." And that allowed me to be okay with, first of all, someone else having them thoughts or myself having those thoughts about myself, but I'm going to prove it wrong, and so just fuck off and leave me alone. And I think it's good to be able to tell yourself to fuck off sometimes. And you're probably going to have to do that multiple times throughout this walk. I'm going to have to do this multiple times throughout this walk ahead.
Yeah, it is tough because we spend a lot of our life going, oh, do you know what? This is hard. I think I'll just have a stop and I'll come back to it later. See if it's easier later.
Yeah.
Sometimes there isn't a later. We're doing this now, and this is what's happening. So
Yeah.
you've got to get on and do it. But yeah, you're right. It is a thing you need to be able to talk yourself through. Closing my brain off completely is a thing I like to do when I'm walking as well, though. Literally, I'll
Yeah.
count my breaths, count my steps. It doesn't matter. Just something that takes my mind completely away from anything else that's going on in the world. I don't want to
Yeah.
use my energy up thinking about everything that I can't fix right now. I'm not solving any problems while I'm out walking. I'm just walking. That's what we're
Yeah.
doing.
It's really important as well. I think people get caught up in trying to control the uncontrollables as well and stuff like that. And that can, as you talked about there, kind of energy. Your energy, you're wasting energy on things you can't do. You can't do anything when you're on a walk. You may as well focus on getting back into your body. I suppose the meditation side of things of counting your breaths, making sure focus on your breaths and seeing how you feel. But I'm super excited to kind of get this done with you. I think it's going to be almost going back and watching these podcasts once we finish is going to be like, holy shit, right? Well, that one you didn't expect it because some parts of your journey you won't expect that'll happen or might face something that's hard and difficult and overcoming it because we can only plan so much. So we know for a fact there's going to be uncontrollables. Maybe the sun is going to be really, really hot. Maybe we might not have water for a kilometer or something like that. But these things are going to happen. And in everybody's journey, we're going to have things where we can't control. The kids might get sick. You might get sick. You might get injured. You might not be able to do X, Y, Z. But it's like in that, what can we control? Well, I can still put one foot in front of the other. Well, we can stop at a shop, maybe detour and see if we can get a little bottle of water before we go on to the next stop or whatever it might be. But there's always a way. And I think when you get in the mindset of allowing your brain to beat you and be like, no, you can't do that, or you're fucked now, or you're a loser, or you're never going to be able to finish this, or you can't do that, or you can't do that. That's where we really lose. So it's really a battle against you all of the time. It's never really about the walk. It's always about how do you overcome that voice in your head and how do we not catastrophize things for ourselves. Um, but yeah, any, I suppose, closing thoughts here for anybody that is maybe started the journey? Because I know there's a good few now people who have been getting out and getting the walks in for the half an hour that we do the podcast or that. But do you have any maybe advice that's helped you this week or any tips or anything like that that just comes top to mind as I'm talking here?
I suppose really just keep going. Just make some kind of note of the things that you're doing as well. I mean, I tend to Strava most of my longer walks now, but just kind of record your walk somewhere so that you can feel good about it.
Yeah.
I love when it tells me that this time I was quicker. This time you know, my walk took a lot less time. I had less breaks. I had less whatever. It just makes me feel better to feel like I am actually doing this for a reason. It is getting better. Every time it gets easier, every time it gets better. But you need to make sure you're reminding yourself of that.
Yeah. I think that's brilliant. The tracking side of things I often talk about what gets tracked gets changed. If we're looking at something and we're prioritizing it and making it important to us and celebrating it, it's going to change. And what's not changed is chosen. So if you're deciding not to go out on a walk and not get movement in or not get exercise in, you're choosing to stay in the same position as where you are now. If you're not challenging yourself with difficult things like what Sarah is here with the London to Brighton walk, well, then you're choosing to stay uncomfortable in the position that you are. Like what you're not changing, you're choosing. And I suppose the other thing is what we're focusing on, what we're prioritizing on, what we prioritize, we're going to change. Well, what's tracked is changed. Last bit of advice there, and actually was something that I meant to say earlier on, just as you were talking, you kind of gave it as well. And it's that analogy of the best time to plant a tree would have been yesterday. The second best time is today. The worst time is tomorrow. So for anybody that's listening, struggling in regards to walking, movement, exercise, whatever it might be, weight loss, right? The worst thing you can do is say, I'm going to start tomorrow. The best thing you can do is see what you can do today, right? It would have been ideal to start a month ago. It would have been ideal to start a year ago. And actually, now you wish you started a year ago. And if you don't start today, next year, you're going to wish you started today. You're always going to look back and be like, I wish I just started. And the time is going to pass regardless of whether you get out and get movement in or you don't, right? Whether you have a hard day or a shitty day or a good day, whatever it might be, the time is going to pass. So you may as well do something with that time and try prioritize yourself because that time is going to pass. And the person that you are in 6 months' time is not going to be down to the results that you or the things that you did the month before that. It's got to do with the things that you're doing now and the things you do consistently between now and then. And it's not about doing everything. It's literally the basics, like what you're saying. Oisin, this has been tough, been really busy with my work and stuff like that. I've only been able to get on shorter walks. Brilliant, because most people would have done none because they're like, oh, I can't do that. That's if you say to yourself, I can't do nothing or I would tell you, you're telling me fibs, you're telling me lies. Sarah, if you can do 16-hour days, they get out on a walk. I'm telling you, everybody listening to this podcast can. And anybody that says, I'm too tired, I'm too exhausted, I can't do that, you're lying to me. You're never more tired after you get out for 5 minutes in comparison to when you get back. So my best bit of advice to everybody, and you said it earlier on, is just something. Anything, start today, don't start tomorrow. Tomorrow you're going to wish you started today, and the time is going to fucking pass. And then it's going to be a year's time. And the person that you are in a year's time is going to be down to what you did today, not what you did tomorrow, because tomorrow will never come and you'll never get that done. But I think it's hugely inspiring, as I said, that you're what you're getting done. A shout out to the charity again, and for anybody that needs to donate, I'm going to stick it into the description as well of the video and of the podcast. It wasn't the last one, I do believe. And if you click onto my page, Sarah's video is up there. You can click into her page, donate. I'll see if I can stick the link into my Instagram bio as well for people, and I'll be sharing it across throughout the week, anyways. But give a shout out to it there, give an explanation for what it is and why you're doing the walk for them.
So it is the Marmalade Trust that we're supporting. Basically, they are a charity who help people stop feeling lonely, because as much as spending time by yourself and in your own head can be good, doing it all the time is just awful. Nothing worse than feeling alone. So hopefully we can stop some people from feeling lonely.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the race, and for anybody that I suppose is wondering about the race or the challenge that we're doing, if you want to join along, drop a message to Sarah, myself. Any support is appreciated, especially things are going to be tough out there. We know that, and having someone by your side, similar to what the Marmalade Trust there does with loneliness, it pushes you on further. And this is kind of that. This journey is much easier done if you're doing it with somebody else rather than by yourself. So Marmalade Trust is huge. Make sure that you click on, and if you have anything, are able to donate, fire that across, and even I suppose just spread the message that there's a charity out there that helps with regards to loneliness. And then
Yeah.
second of all, the race that we do is with Ultra Challenge series, and they run multiple different challenges throughout the year. So if you've been interested in this one, you're like, oh, I'd love to try something like that, click onto their website. I think it's Action Challenge or ultrachallengeseries.com, and you will be able to take a look at those as well. The guys are looking after us well, and we're looking forward to kind of getting started on that, and we'll keep you updated as we go. But yeah, thank you so much, Sarah, for jumping on, having a chat, and I hope everybody can take something from the episode. As always, if you enjoyed it, make sure you hit the share button. Maybe send Sarah a message of support. Actually, fuck hitting the share button, the comments, all that other shit I don't care about, even liking the video. But go give Sarah as much support as you possibly can, on her Instagram or in the comments. I'm sure you read all the last ones actually, which is unbelievable. And I'm sure they go a long way, especially when training's getting tough.
Yeah, it's really good. Thank you very much for all the support, everybody. It's really appreciated.